All right, you fine, beautiful motherfuckers. We are back for a new free training, and this will be especially useful for those of you who run agencies where you are managing Facebook ads. I'd probably add a little asterisk that this is also true if you run Google ads as well, or really kind of any ad manager. Although we've done a lot of shit ton of stuff with Facebook ads, so it'll be kind of centered around that. And what we're going to be talking about here is getting A+ client results without even ever having to go into an ad manager. And I'll show you that like that's not an exaggeration, or without having to hire like these super talented media buyers. And I'd like to just qualify a little bit. When I say A+ client results, what I mean by that are results that clients are generally happy with, like they think are good and awesome, that they are willing to pay for, that are relatively easy for you to deliver and also easy for you to duplicate, meaning it's not like you caught some flash in the pan with one client, but something you can do consistently again and again with every client. So if you guys are ready for that, I hope you're ready for that. Are you ready for that? Let's buckle yourselves in. Just give you guys a little bit of backstory. I am on my 6th Facebook ad account, and I just got sick of getting banned. You guys, by the way, do you know anyone this has happened to? You got your ad account banned, and I simply just couldn't go in there. So when I say like I'm managing these results through Facebook, and I'll show you in a second how we're doing that, but I mean that literally I cannot log into an ad account. So for many years, this is the bane of my existence, was having to log into this damn ad manager. So this actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise. This is one of my ad accounts. So this is actually a real photo, by the way. Like Facebook says, do not pass go. You are not allowed in. And at the same time, by the way, I'm part of a lot of other agency owner groups. One of those is Jeff Miller's. He's got an awesome group called Facebook Ad Scaling Secrets, and he's a good dude in general. And I've noticed like a recurring theme where people are saying like, I need a fucking awesome media buyer. So here's Eric. So Eric says, these aren't people I know personally or anything. It's just, I want to show you an example of some of the questions here. But he says, who's the best solar media buyer? I'm looking for managing 800K budgets, looking to hire a media buyer to outsource work to, comment what platform and industry. That's Logan. Morgan says, media buyer does all related to delivery. They're not a replacement for an account manager. Alex says currently looking for a Facebook media buyer, experience in the general contractor space. This person, I'm looking for a media buyer located in North America, experience with home improvement, lead gen, blah, blah, blah. You can see, by the way, this is not cheap to start, is it? 60 to 75K to get your first media buyer. Top media buyers doing 90 to 100K. Like if you're in your agency, like regardless of what level you're at, like $110,000 for a media buyer is like it's a good chunk of salary, right? Who here is a media buyer for ecom? Need a lot of good case studies and results. Sorry, brother, I can't say your name. DeGeorgie. Hiring a media buyer. Juan's looking for them. Looking for a skilled expert, looking for a part-time or full-time media buyer. So you guys get the idea, right? Like I hope I've made the point that like everybody's looking for that media buyer. And this, in my opinion, is a little bit like finding a diamond in the rough, like that perfect unicorn who's going to take all your delivery problems and make them go away. And I'm not saying that this has never happened in human history, but I find more people strike out trying to find a great media buyer than ones who are successful at it. So like there's a lot of shit that can go wrong. So I'll tell you the question I've been asking myself, and this is kind of a profound question to ask yourself, is how can I scale this damn agency, get clients results without even having access to an ad manager and without having to hire a super talented media buyer? That's the question I've been asking myself. And the big difference, by the way, and I think this will blow your mind. Well, I'm going to tell you guys this, and then you're going to say to yourself, is this at least a little bit mind blowing? Is we do not have a superstar media buyer. In fact, we are getting these results with our virtual assistants who have never fucking ran a Facebook ad in their lives. They set up their own business manager and we put the client accounts inside of there. And our virtual assistants are managing our Facebook ad clients. Let me say that again, because I think the first time through, sometimes it's like almost like that sounds like too wild and crazy. So I'm going to show you how we do this in a second. But we get clients these results without an ad manager, without a super amazing media buyer, using our virtual assistants from third world countries who often English is not their first language. So I'm going to show you guys how we do that step by step in just a second. I just want to take 30 seconds here, tell you who I am. For those of you guys who are catching this on YouTube or don't know me already, my name is Frankie Finn. I wrote this fancy book here called Beyond the Agency Box. Some people on Amazon seem to like it. And mostly what I help agency peeps do is, well, here's Kyle, for example, first $100,000 month on New Year, cool stuff like that. Justin hitting $416,000 average subscriber value. Like, we're keeping clients a long time and hitting, big numbers. And also, one of the things that I like to do for you guys is have my free shit be hella valuable. So this was another training, but just to show you guys, here's Ali, who pulled in a 20K deal. It sounds like he's got a few other ones as well. He's got 4 in the pipeline since we last spoke. Matt got his first 2K client. This shit's just awesome, by the way. Sam, I think I sent out 3 already, got a new client for a test campaign, got a video I can use over and over. So I'm hoping by this, by the way, that you guys, and I'm sure you'll be, well, are you as excited as I am to get some free shit that you can, potentially use and get some amazing results. Also, like, we focus on different kind of results than what most agencies are doing. So this is Oral, who joined a mastermind and went from, trying to break into a new niche. And 16 days later, after he got his first one and built up a waiting list. So, like, I think that's really fucking cool when you get to the point where you have a waiting list, meaning there's more clients who want to work with you than you could ever possibly service, and you get to pick and choose the ones that make sense for you. And I get 50% of the credit, according to Oral. So I think that's too much. He's a good dude. He's really smart on his own. And this is the stuff I'm most proud of that we do is clients are, Brian says clients are happily sticking with us. No meetings, no phone calls, no hassles, like low maintenance, high paying clients. That's what I want to show you guys how to crack the code on that. So without further ado, let's get into the actual content here. Let's get into some meat and potatoes and show you how you're doing this. Are you guys excited to see how we're doing this? So I think there's an important distinction here, because to me, there's an assumption built into most of these people's paradigms looking for the great media buyer. And I'm not saying this is the only way to look at it, but this is one way to look at it, is treating it like a surface level issue, which is, hey, if we get cheap leads and we hire great talent, like, our shit's going to work awesome. And so there's kind of an underlying assumption that says it's a people issue. Like, we need a great fucking media buyer. We need a great person who can take all this delivery work. Oh, excuse me. Got a little burp in there. So we need, like, people to take the work off of that. Can you see how, like, there's kind of that assumption in the paradigm? And I'm not saying that can't work. It can. I've met many people who've made that work. But I think there's an easier way of dealing with it. And it's looking at it as a deeper issue, which is, it's actually a business structure issue, meaning it's a systems and strategy issue. And if you understand that, if you agree with me just on this one point, or at least entertain this idea, I'll show you how you can make this whole thing a lot easier on you. So at least if you don't necessarily believe that now, is it cool if we just suspend judgment for a minute, hear what I have to say on this fancy content stuff? You'll see how we're doing it. You can decide if that way makes more sense for you and what your goals are in your business, whatever. But the surface level is, like, again, we need cheap leads and great talent. And the deeper level issue is it's a business structure issue. And I compare this to, like, getting a great media buyer to, like, take all your delivery stuff off your hands. To me, is like running a restaurant and needing a star chef like a Gordon Ramsay to just crank out fucking awesome burgers. And instead, if you think about, like, McDonald's is much more of, like, a process oriented company, right? Like, they have any pimply faced kid can make a fucking burger there across, like, 7 continents and like 180 countries or whatever. McDonald's just makes burgers. I'm sure you could go to Antarctica and they would make the same goddamn Big Mac through some pimply faced kids. And so McDonald's is an example of focusing on great systems and, like, your typical restaurants looking for a great chef. Both can work, by the way, but I find that most people who are looking for a great chef are trying to do it on a budget, which makes it, like, extra hard. As where if you have great systems, like, you can hire almost anybody to manage those systems. And you should have great people, by the way. I still like to have a Gordon Ramsay run the McDonald's systems, but you don't need it. And that's the real key. So, like, can you see how that would be easier if you had a great system? Hope so. Anyways, so come with me on this a little bit on this journey. So our first secret, and I talked about this in the book, is having what I call a $100 bill outcome. And these are terms that I kind of invented myself, is understanding that within your client's business, there is a spectrum, and it doesn't matter what niche you're in. This is always true, whether you do e-commerce or you do online coaching or you work with local business, doesn't matter. There's a spectrum of value. So like an example of this is an online coach may sell a $27 ebook or a package of 3 coaching sessions for $100 or $150. And they may also have a $40,000 mastermind. All things being equal, if you help them sell the $40,000 mastermind, your shit automatically gets more valuable. And so there's a little bit of a precursor in this, which is you have to have a niche, and almost like the $100 bill outcome is the sub niche within it. So I'm going to show you ours, and hopefully this will make a little more sense for you. This is one we ran for the last few years. We're actually working on a new offer now that's even easier to deliver. But we focused on helping personal injury lawyers generate motorcycle accident cases. And the deal with motorcycle accident cases, if somebody gets injured in a motorcycle accident, there's usually a lot of damages, and the settlements in this particular niche are based on the damages. So what that boils down to in simple English is that the average motorcycle case is worth between $25,000 and $80,000. They can go a lot higher, by the way. But, you know, like imagine you bring for your client. What would that do for your client, by the way, if you just brought them one person and they made $80,000 from one person? What do you think that would do for how awesome your package is seen as? Okay. So this is a big secret. It allows us to produce bigger results, but not actually have to work as hard. And I want you to imagine, by the way, just see for yourself, like imagine you doing this, because this is how easy it is. People always ask me, like, how do I find the $100 bill outcome? You just fucking ask. And this is the magic question. You just ask, what types of clients, customers, or patients, depending on your niche. But in my case, what types of clients do you wish you had more of? So here's an actual conversation. What type of cases do you wish you had more? Okay, I should have said clients, but serious injuries, motorcycle accident, trucking accident, mass torts. So those are 4 different $100 bill outcomes you could pick right there, right? They would be willing to pay for all 4 of those, by the way. I happen to just pick the motorcycle accident one. I'll tell you the reasons in a minute why we picked this particular one. And the cool thing is, by the way, when you specialize in this outcome, instead of specializing in your deliverable, does it make you more unique or less? And the answer, by the way, is more unique, right? You imagine that for a second. Like, can you see how being more unique would be more valuable? So the flip side of that, by the way, if you want to know what kinds of people they don't want, you can always ask them for the nickel. You can say, what types of clients do you wish you had less of? I didn't ask that because I'm not worried about delivering that, but you can always ask that. By the way, you can ask this in a group in like Facebook or LinkedIn, even if you have 0 clients. For those of you guys who are starting at 0, this is especially useful if you got like 10, 20 clients, you can just ask this question to. But if you're at 0, you can go into a brand new group and ask the dentist, what kind of patients do you wish you had more of? And they'll, at least a few of them will answer, and they'll tell you what they want to buy. So here's why I want to show you this. A lot of times people think, okay, that sounds complicated. How do I figure out my outcome? And this is it. This is it. Like, you just ask one question and you get your fucking answer in like 5 minutes. This is why I want to show you this. We're not actually really doing all that much different. We're just aiming it and tweaking what we're doing just a little bit. So I'll show you like an example of this, because I think this makes it a lot easier. This is not my website, but I used to, for a long time, our first agency, we did a lot of plastic surgery, SEO, and web design, that kind of combo. So we would help them design websites and then rank them in the old Google. And we did that for a lot of years, unedited. So we would build stuff like this. Now you'll notice on here, says autoplasty and ear surgery. It's funny, I have actually no idea what that is, but apparently people hate their ears. Facial plastic, breast lifting, lip augmentation, eyelid surgery, surgeries for men, facial fillers. Now, question for you. Do you think that this plastic surgeon values each of these patients equally, or do you think it's possible that some of these procedures are more valuable than others? If you think about it just for a second, like anything else, there's a value spectrum. Like, there's things they value more than other ones. So I know this just from like being in this niche, but one day a surgeon came to us and said, hey, can you make me a mommy makeover mini website? Like, could we design a mommy makeover mini site? It wasn't even my idea. And I said, yeah, I don't see why not, right? Like, what's the difference between designing this website and designing that website? Like, you know, the picture is a little bit different, the content's a little bit but it's the same damn thing, right? We're still designing a website, of course. And then he said, do you think there's people searching for mommy makeover? So I went into the Google keyword tool back in those days, the keyword planner, I believe it's called now. And the answer was yes. Yes, in fact, people do search that. he said, do you think you could rank us for it? And I did a couple of searches, looked, just analyze the competition. I was like, actually, this is easier than going after like the really generic plastic surgery, Dallas, New York, et cetera, et cetera. And so I said, yeah. And so he said, okay, I want that. Give me a mommy makeover website and rank it, and I will pay you for that. Turned out, by the way, that was an easy to sell offer. And I never understood for years why that was. And the answer is, by the way, do you know what the answer is? Because this is a $100 bill outcome. This is a bring me $40,000 patients on autopilot. This is a bring me a mixed bag. And of course, there'll be a whole lot of undesirable stuff. Like I can tell you from working in this niche, even though like you can get a lot of breast augmentation patients, the surgeon pays $1,000 for the implants. They have the cost of the surgery room. And if you add up all the cost of delivery, they almost make no money off of breast augmentation. Same thing with these little facial fillers and stuff. They make a couple of bucks. But if you gave them a choice between a $40,000 mommy makeover and some Botox injections, they will take this all day, every day. And so this became our new offer and deliverable. And there's a beauty to doing this when you deliver $100 bill outcomes. Is like you actually don't have to do that much to get people results, right? Like if he gets one $40,000 mommy makeover in 3 months, does that justify $3,000 a month of SEO? I think it does, right? Like $9,000 and you made 40 grand. Like that's easy math, right? So it gives you just a lot of room to be wrong. I'll show you another example. Another niche we dabbled this a little bit with my man Dan Crystal back in the day. He has stuck with it. He's the roofing master. I hated it. But in roofing, again, I want you to see, can you see how there's a value spectrum here? Okay, somebody's searching for a roofing company, a roofing contractor, roofing service. Those are probably all pretty similar. Roof repair. I can tell you, by the way, like this happens. It rains. Somebody like needs a roof repaired, but it might be a hole this big. They're not looking for a whole new roof. They just want somebody to come up, patch it, stop making it rain in the living room. And you might, as a roofer, make a couple $100 doing that, if that, sometimes even less. And you do all this work. Now, I want you to compare that to the one right below it, just to show you a roof replacement, right? Like they might make $10,000 replacing a whole roof. And then I want you to look at the big money one that I've circled here, commercial roofer. These are often, by the way, $250,000 jobs. Do you see how if you bring, because I want you to imagine yourself doing this, right? Like it's just a little tweak to what you're doing. Do you see how if you bring a roofer, like let's say your niche is roofing just for a second. If you bring a roofer a $250,000 roof, you're going to have to do a lot less to justify a big fee than if you bring them, like, say, leaks, right? Like you might have to bring that guy like 1,000 fucking leaks. Do you see what an advantage it is to bring them a very expensive, high value thing? So there's a spectrum in every niche. So I want you to go through and just ask people this question. What do you wish you had more of? What kind of clients, patients, customers do you wish you had more of? That's the secret, by the way. So I'll show you why this matters in a second to not having to be inside of an ad manager. This is typically, by the way, Facebook ads for personal injury. They look like this, right? Like this is not, I just pulled this from Google Images. This is what they look like. Hey, if you're injured, call us. Problem with this, by the way, is, well, in this niche, it's not so bad, but like in a lot of niches, if you do this stuff, like it doesn't give you a lot of profit margin, right? Like, do you know what I mean? Like where if you run an ad and you get a client and your client doesn't make any money, they're not going to be happy, right? So we mentioned for a second, room to be wrong. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Okay, let's go back to this motorcycle image for a second. If we are bringing a client an $80,000 accident case, how much do you think we can spend on leads to go get somebody, to get just one person? In fact, let's make it really, really simple. The answer is quite a lot, right? Like, I mean, if we spent $10,000 to just get one person, that would be a win, don't you think? Right? Like if you spent $10,000 and made $80,000, would you be happy to do that? I think most people would. And they would be happy to do that again and again and again. Even if they spent $10,000 and only made $25,000, they'd probably still be quite happy to do that, right? So it gives you a lot of room to be wrong when you have the $100 bill niche. And I'll tell you why this matters. Because, where were we here in the old notes? What most people need to get their system to work is really fucking cheap leads. I'm not saying that can't work. There are people who are really good media buyers who can get cheap leads, but I'll tell you, in my, and this is what most people are looking for, right? Like this is what success looks like. is I got my leads down to $3. I got 8-cent leads. I always see screenshots of these. This is what they're looking for in a media buyer, is like be able to make the lead machine work really damn cheaply. But I'll tell you why this is a losing battle. In your experience, do the cost of advertising platforms like Google and Facebook, do they go up or do they go down over time? Right? They go up, don't they? Right? Like I actually have friends who were in the Google AdWords space at the very beginning, and they used to be able to bid on keywords like make money online for 5 cents. And they would sell like a $47 make money online ebook. And at 5 cents, they could drive shit tons of traffic, have poor conversion, and still the math would work, right? They could spend $20 and sell a $47 ebook, and the math would just keep working. They could spend money. But now make money online is like $20, $30 a keyword. So this is my way of saying ad prices go up over time, don't they? Right? Like that's a normal function. Like TikTok's really cheap right now, but give it 2-3 years. What do you think will happen to TikTok? Will this go up or down? So when you understand this, what I want to do is give myself a lot of fucking room to be wrong. And like I said, this is just a little tweak, right? Like we're still running Facebook ads that are similar to this. The only difference is now they show a motorcycle accident and they target motorcycle people and they talk about motorcycle stuff, right? Like it's the same basic idea. We've only really just tweaked it a little bit, right? Like we're still doing the same kind of, that's why I say it's a systems issue, not necessarily like a cheap leads and talent issue. The other thing, by the way, of doing this is it allows us to do the first time we have to create a solution for a client, like it's all custom work and it's a lot of work. But when we get client 2 and client 3 and client 4, we're giving them the same system, the same ads, the same landing page, the same motorcycle system, right? Like with each successive client, trying there, 2, 3, 4, 5, etc. Are we coming up with new stuff? Are we giving them the same shit again and again? So this means for you, it's a magic formula that I really love. One of my mentors said it very simply. He said, I like to do things once that I can get paid for again and again. So what ends up happening, a lot of these people, by the way, if they're just trying to generate leads for any general contractor, then even still, there's a lot of custom work. Custom work is like you go into a restaurant and they have 45 things on the menu. And so you say, like, what do you want me to do? Do you want me to run ads? Do you want me to fix your web page? Do you want me to do your landing page? What kind of clients? And you have to like kind of reinvent the wheel with each client. But if you think about McDonald's, especially when McDonald's first started, by the way, I don't know those of you guys who know this, but McDonald's only sold burgers in the beginning, and they eventually expanded to French fries and Cokes. But in the very beginning, you could only get a hamburger, and then eventually they said you could be a baller and have cheese on it. And by the way, I actually bought the intellectual property for this motorcycle stuff. It's in this little document here. I'll show it to you guys in just a second, but I want to come back to that. But the real key, by the way, and the McDonald's is probably a bad example because McDonald's is a great system, but it's a low value deliverable. In many ways, we're cranking out $777 burgers. This is a little worth it show that I watch on YouTube every now and then where they compare foods at different price points. But we're really selling the very expensive burger and delivering it over and over. So we have just one high value deliverable. And the key with making all this work, there's less shit for you to stay on top of. Can you see how, like, if you're just delivering one motorcycle campaign over and over, do you see how that could be less work than like trying to do like please every general contractor? So by the way, even with 50 clients, just making one burger over and over, we may like what I call customize it. Like if somebody says like, hey, I want some pickles on that burger, or I want extra cheese, or can you hold the ketchup? I'm not a ketchup person. I'm not a mustard person. Can you take off the onions? Can you add extra onions? Yeah, we can tweak the burger a little bit, but every time it's the same burger over and over and over. So we want the hamburger system. Remember I said this is more a systems issue than it is like we need great people. And if you look at it as a systems issue, then you'll fix the system and then the whole people issue will get easier. All right. By the way, this is important because what most people are doing, by the way, is selling the doing. I call this the hammer or the plane ride. And what we switch to, which makes the whole sales message easier and the delivery easier, is we switch to producing an outcome for a client, which is what they want, a result, if you will. So what most people are doing, and I compare this to a plane ride. Like if you think about somebody who gets on a plane and goes on vacation, like I'm gonna take your average typical office worker. They are sick of boring ass meetings and office politics and spreadsheets and hey, you're late and it's your lunch hour and I need you to stay a couple extra hours because we got to get caught up on the Johnson account. It's all that they're sick of, and they hop on a plane and they go somewhere beautiful and exotic where there's beaches and babes and beautiful weather and sunshine and beer. And what most people, by the way, metaphorically do in their agency is they sell the doing, which is like selling the plane ride. Going, we have comfortable seats, that's ergonomic, it's great. And what you really want to do is sell, like, we're going to get you away from the office and all the bullshit. We're going to get you to the beach with the bikinis and the sunset. And the plane ride is actually the least important detail of that. So we want to sell our clients on this $100 bill outcome. What is going to get done? Can you see how that would be more powerful? It's the difference between saying, we'll run Facebook ads. That's doing. Facebook ads are a plane ride. Nobody wants the plane ride. Versus an outcome is, we'll get you motorcycle cases for $1,000 per signed case. That's what gets done. Just so happens to be delivered via Facebook. So I hope that makes that crystal clear for you guys. If it's cool with you guys, I'd like to just show you the next thing. We'll move on a little bit here. Secret number 2, to do less. I always think about this, by the way. I'm going to show you a little bit of the inspiration for this, but to do less overall, but do more important 80-20 result producing stuff. You guys already know this, that if you look at what is producing results in anything, there's an 80-20. And so it's like, what is actually really moving the needle? What is really producing the results here? So when it came to our stuff with motorcycle cases, and I want you guys to think about like doing this for yourself in your own analogous thing, is like, what actually makes the phone ring for a client? For example, like, often what happens out of this is you get to eliminate amazing things. I remember one of our guys in the mastermind was doing all this stuff to help clients rank in Google. And what he found out was oftentimes the clients would give him a broken website. So he'd have to redesign the whole website, which meant all this back and forth. And you'd have to custom title tags and all this stuff. And then when I said, what's actually producing the result? He said, oh, it's the GMBs, the Google My Business. It's their map listing, as I call it, because I'm old school. And I said, well, why do the website? If the GMB is producing the result, why not like double down on GMBs and just eliminate that other piece altogether, since it's not actually producing the results anyways? So I'll tell you what this meant for me, by the way, because there's a lot of things like you can't do when you don't have access to an ad manager and you literally cannot log in front of it. Couldn't check and monitor any ads. Couldn't stay on top of all the goddamn Facebook updates. Thank fuck for that I don't have to care about the updates. I couldn't handle all the 18,000 variables, right? Like there's a lot of variables. Like, do you want audience manager and this, and do you want that? And how much do you scale the winners by? And what do you name your campaigns and all that? Like, I couldn't deal with any of those fucking things. I couldn't talk to a rep. Reps won't talk to you when you're kicked out of accounts. I couldn't run different campaigns for different clients. Like I had to make this stupid fucking simple, like really fucking stupid simple. And in short, I needed it to work without all these complications. So the question I ask myself often, and this is a good question to ask yourself, by the way, I said, what is essential here? It's inspired by this book, by the way, Essentialism by Greg McKeown. And the motto of the book, by the way, is doing less but better. Like to do more result producing things and to do less of it, but do those things better. So if you're like doing outreach, instead of sending 10,000 messages badly, send 10 messages really fucking well, right? So this is like essentialism in a nutshell. And so I sat with this for a while, right? This didn't come up to me overnight, but I said, what actually produces results in Facebook? And I thought, people tend to overcomplicate, in my opinion anyway, the tech. Oh, we need to watch this metric and that metric. And we only scale this much and duplicate campaigns and make sure your pixel and blah, blah, blah. And for me, that's like wanting to put a bullet in my head. I said, it's just a tool to connect with people. If I target the right people, I offer them the right thing, I have an image that like conveys what I wanted to convey, and some copy that supports it, like those 4 things, I should say. If I nail those 4 things, most of the other shit will take care of itself. By the way, including the budgets, right? If, for example, like I said, if we spend $10,000 to get one $80,000 outcome, do we have a budget problem? Right? There's no budget problem. If you're spending 10 grand to make 80 grand, how big can your budget be? Big as you fucking want it to be, right? Like the question shouldn't be like, what should the budget be is like, how far can we take it? How much can we spend to keep spending 10K to make 8K, right? Like everybody's happy with a 8K or 8 times return on investment. So I determined this was the Frankie Finn formula, and you may have like one or two other variables different, but I just want to show you for us, it came down to targeting, offer, image, and copy. And I thought, okay, if I can just nail those 4 things and get this done with my systems, then we're going to be in really good shape. So I'm going to show you just a little bit of what this looks like. If I nail these things, most of these other things, like even my budget, even my scaling, most of those things will work themselves out if my targeting, my offer, my image, and my copy are on point. So we created 4 processes. Targeting, we created a standardized offer. By the way, every client gets the same offer. In our case, we're giving a little motorcycle book, and then they have a series of emails that follow up with them that invite them to a free consultation. We have an image, and our images are pretty straightforward. We got a process, but they're mostly like lawyer's face, picture of the book, lawyer's face, picture of the book, get the free book. Sometimes they have pictures of motorcycles, things like that. But for the most part, we're giving them the same thing. And then we have a copy library. Again, I will come back to that in a second because I want to show you guys what that looks like. But we created 4 processes for each of those things and put them all in Asana, right? Like these are my systems. I want somebody to be able to log into Asana, a virtual assistant, and follow my process step by step for here's how we target. Can you see, by the way, can you see yourself actually doing that? Can you see how that would make your life easier? If you could just explain to somebody, here's how we target, here's what we offer them, here's how we create images, here's our copy library. And again, you have to think about this. Like the real challenge is you have to think about less. All right. If it's me running my own ads, I can try 8,000 fucking images and do those things. But if I'm having someone else manage them for me and I'm not able to log into an ad manager, I have to think about like, what are the images that actually generate the results? So here's secret number 3, by the way, the decision-making SOP. And this book right here, by the way, Ray Dalio's Principles was a big inspiration on this. So for those of you guys who've never read Ray Dalio Principles, it's for like growing and scaling companies. And what he talked about in the book is there's all these scenarios you get put into business where there are unknowns and things you can't know, like life just throws you curveballs. And so one of the things that he wanted to come up with is getting out his decision-making process out of his head and onto paper so he could tell people, these are the principles with which we make decisions. In other words, like if there's 18,000 unknowns, like how would I approach that problem? And the idea behind it is, the much deeper idea is, you can clone your ability to make decisions, meaning you can empower employees. Like, for example, like let's say one of your principles is if it's under $100, like just do whatever it takes to make the client happy. Well, then when an employee gets put in a situation like, what do I do about this client? They want this, and I don't know. Well, if it's under $100, they'll just do whatever it takes to make the client happy, and they don't have to ask you. So the idea behind principles is how to deal with unknowns, how to deal with things we don't know, decision-making process, like how to deal with all those things. And so I started thinking about this, and the question I was asking myself when I was doing this is, a couple times a week, I used to log into the ad manager and I would see how things are going. Like I would literally just log in, check client accounts, and look at stats. And based on those stats, I would make decisions, right? Like you guys probably, if you're out there, you're probably doing something similar, I would imagine. And I would say to myself, like, how do I decide what to do next? Like there's a decision here, right? And by what process am I deciding? And this took some practice, by the way. This wasn't easy at first, but I'll tell you the inspiration for it. I had to take a coding class in university, college for you American fine folks. And in that class, we had to do a computer programming class. It was my least favorite fucking class. I hated every second of it. Teacher was awful. The material was awful. Everything about it was just awful. And one of the things we used to do is to solve math problems, we would come up with what are called if-else statements. And you would tell a computer, like, if a number was in this range, do this. If it was in this range, do that. Else if. And so I gave you guys an example. This is an example, like a really simple program, but it's to determine someone's grade. So if somebody has a number from 0 to 100, they would put it into the program, and you can see the if-else statement. So if the number is greater than or equal to 90, then it would say you got an A. Then it would say if you got between 80 and 90, then it would say you got a B. If you got 70 to 80, it would say you got a C. If you got between 60 and 70, it would say you got a D. If you got anything lower than that, say you fucking failed it, Frankie Finn. But you see how it's just really simple logic, right? It's just like, if the number's this, do that. Well, I started looking at, I'm basing my decisions in the ad manager off of the numbers. So what are the numbers like I'm looking for, and how do I make decisions? And so I kind of modeled this line of thinking. And this is our simple logic, by the way, for our motorcycle stuff. And it really is this simple. It says, if the ads are $10 or less, I should put this over here. So in other words, like if the ads are working, like if we're getting cheap leads, then keep fucking running it, right? Like just don't stop running this shit. And then I would say, if the ads are between $10 and $20, right? If they're in that range, where what I would call kind of working, meaning like some aspects of the ad are working, but it's not like in the range we wanted it to, then I would say tweak it. And the first thing I would tweak is the image. And we would also use new ads. I'll show you that in just a second, by the way. And then I would say anything else, which mostly meant like the leads are more than $20, I define that as not working, even though, by the way, it's still probably the math would work even with $20 leads with our $80,000 deliverable. But nonetheless, I don't want clients to just like get gouged on lead price. So I'm like, $20, that's probably a little too high. So that meant we would launch new ads. I'll show you just like a quick preview. By the way, I bought this intellectual property. Just tell you a little bit of backstory before I show it to you. I reached out to a friend of mine who was running motorcycle ads for lawyers. And I said, how are you guys making out with the motorcycle stuff? Like, I always loved that outcome because I know more and more lawyers want motorcycle cases and nobody's providing that. And he said, actually, we moved on to bigger stuff. We're doing mostly mass torts. So mass torts are big class action lawsuits. Like 1,000 people will sue a big company, like a Johnson and Johnson or a car company because of something. And there'll be a settlement for like $80 million. Those are called mass torts cases in our lingo. And I said, well, what are you doing with all the motorcycle stuff? And he said, to be honest, nothing. And I said, any chance you would lease it to me? And he said, yeah. And we talked and had a little back and forth. And he said, if you give me $450 every time you sign a client, I'll just send you a document. You can use all the stuff. So this is the actual document I get sent. By the way, this is amazing because I didn't even have to come up with the work on the first client. So this is a little bit organic, but basically this is what we're doing is we run a free ad for a motorcycle book. This was his targeting. We target motorcycle people, people who drive motorcycles, people who have motorcycle accessories, motorcycle helmet. We have a whole bunch of follow-up, but basically like we're running lead ads that look like this. Do you know what to do after a motorcycle crash? Find out the common mistakes. Headline, free guide for insert state bikers. So we had all the ads templated. Like, could you see that? So whenever our virtual assistant needs to run a new ad, we don't have to they don't have to come up with an ad. They just go to the library and go, okay, I tried number 2. Let's try number 3. So you can see there's like a shit ton of ads in here. I'm not going to bore you guys and show you them all, but there's a lot of ads. We had probably about 50 of them, but this enabled us to not have to constantly reinvent the wheel. We do this once and we can reuse this again and again. And our virtual assistants just reference this document whenever they need to. They have a new ad. We also had retargeting free consultation ads to hey, come back. So we run those simultaneously. And then mostly what people are doing is they're downloading a motorcycle book, and there's a series of follow-up emails that come up. So in our niche, it's called a drip sequence. Email number 1, email number 2. I had my virtual assistants import all of this into the system. And by the way, every lawyer gets the same set of emails. Hi, first name. Again, so it says phone number. Obviously, we personalize each phone number, and every single email invites them to a call to come call the lawyer. So that's it in a nutshell. That's basically the system. So it's to just recap a little bit. I want you guys to see yourself doing this because this is an easier way of doing this. Is if the ads are working, just keep fucking running them. There's no decision to be made. The decision is let them go. And so we set it up. By the way, they test this. They check these numbers twice a week. Tuesdays and Fridays are how we do it on our schedule. If the ads are kind of working, let's tweak an image. And so they can go into the process library. We actually create the images custom, but there's a simple formula for them to follow. If they're not working, they go into the ad library, they grab a new ad and they launch new ads. It's very, very simple. So this means, by the way, instead of having a great media buyer, we got to manage 5 things, right? The less things I have to manage, the better. And if I could eliminate one of these, I tell you I would. So we have to target the right people. And of course, you guys saw at the top of this document, we had, this is basically like our targeting. We don't mess with it too much. Target the motorcycle people within 50 miles or however the radius is of the client's business. After the offer that gets a yes, in our case, is a book. Download this book, and then the book sends you a series of emails which invite you to a free consultation. So there's kind of two offers there. There's get the book, call us, right? Call us for a free consultation. We have images, and our image process is really simple. It's mostly like lawyer's face, book, lawyer's colors. That's our image formula, right? It's not super complicated. Sometimes pictures of motorcycles. And we split test images of motorcycles and crashes with pictures of the lawyer's face. Ad library. This is probably the most complicated piece, but I don't want my virtual assistants trying to write great ads, right? Like this is essentially what you would hire a media buyer for. And then our process to decide. This is the Ray Dalio principles. Can you see how like managing 5 things is easier than managing like the 500 variables that people are trying to manage with a media buyer? So this involves like tighter niche, doing this for less people, but giving the same deliverable over and over. And I'll tell you, this is an epic Frankie Finn rant coming. But let me tell you why all this shit fucking matters, okay? Because if you have a system that runs McDonald's wise, you get to actually have a fucking life. And before that, I used to spend a lot of time in the ad manager, but these are some recent photos taken. They're not really like particularly anything special, but this is, the kind of shit we do. Like I take my kids to the beach, we go on the boat, we do stuff. That's Ilka and my lady having dates. I just put some links here to my Facebook. Is just trying to show you my own way that you get time for life experience. So these are like photos of me. I guess these are older ones where it's been a while since I've been tagged. I get to spend a lot of time with my kids, do goofy shit, go around the world, see places. This is Norway, this is Germany. This is my brother's wedding in Canada. Like, we've literally been all over the world. This is in Spain. This is hanging with my genius brother over here, Peter Sabo. This is in Thailand. We've just got to do some cool stuff. My man, Nikki Two Angels messaging me. All right, dude, we'll check it out after. And we get to like hang out at the beach, do cool shit like this. I get to hang with my kids and see exotic places and take them for ice cream. And, this is the whole point of this is so that your agency is a business machine that gives you a life where the client results are happening, but you're not losing your shit trying to generate them. Because I'll tell you, I don't know about you, but when my days were spent in the ad manager, I fucking hated it. Like some of you guys are probably love this shit, and that's totally cool. I've met people who love running Facebook ads. I am not one of them. So this is probably a better system for those of you guys who are like me. If you're looking at this, if this sounds more like a business prison, like if you're on your laptop checking out your ads. And by the way, was it when you look at your ad manager, whether this is AdWords or Facebook or TikTok or whatever, is this joy producing for you? Or is it stressful as fuck? Right? Like, is getting results for clients looking at this shit stressful? For me, really fucking stressful. Like, it was whatever joy producing is, it felt like a prison. So I want you guys to have business systems that give you a life and less of like this. So let's do a little recap on this, by the way. I'm going to make you guys a little soft offer for those of you guys who would benefit from this most in just a second. Recap here. In order to like do the less but better kind of approach to this, we need $100 bill outcome because it's repeatable, gives us a lot of room to be wrong. It makes clients easy to please, right? Like bring them one or two $40,000 people, they're stoked, right? Like your SEO is awesome. Doing the 80-20 of what produces results. So doing less, focusing on what actually produces results here, and then really nailing those pieces. And then this was probably the biggest key of all of it in some ways, which is cloning our decision making, right? Like that was actually probably the hardest one for me to come up with. But I hope you guys can see, like, are you seeing the logic here of the if else kind of formula? Like if it's working, do this. If it's kind of working, do that. Tweak that. If it's not working, go grab a new ad and start again. But that's the basic formula. But we wanted to have the systems before the people. That isn't to say, by the way, you can't throw in a great media buyer. A great media buyer, by the way, can take these documents and like make them fucking amazing, right? Like just amazing, amazing, amazing. But you want to have the system in place before the media buyer, which is backwards to how most people do it. They try and hire the media buyer to make the great system. I want to make the great system and then bring in the great media buyer. So if you understand that little tweak, and I hope you guys are following me on that, you'll make your life so much easier. Can you see how, like, can you see yourself just like being comfortable doing it that way, like actually managing it through other people and producing this high value outcome? And I would also add, like, are you happy you came to this free training? Because I hope you guys got a ton of value out of this. And can you see how having this high value repeatable outcome gives you an advantage over every other agency? Like, you have less moving pieces, but you do those better. More importantly, can you see yourself using that? And even if you use just a tiny fraction of this, can you see how that would be valuable? So I'm going to make you a little offer right now, and I hope you guys are down to just go a little deeper. But first, I just want to answer a couple of questions on it really quickly. Sometimes people ask me, is like, does this take a lot of time? And I'll tell you, this is just my honest experience. When anywhere from like 5 to 15 custom clients, when you're trying to find a great media buyer, that meant for me working 40 to 80 hours a week. Doing it the way I just showed you in this training, we can manage 50 to 100 clients in like 10 hours a week. And even less if you want to, right? Because you can hire people to manage all the pieces. I just like doing some of the pieces, but it's actually less time than what you're likely doing now. Significantly so, I might add, because it just scales better with ease. Another thing people ask me is like, is this too different? Will it be too weird for my clients? Well, I just say, like, yes, but like, do you want to be the kind of agency owner who like spends all your day fucking looking at this? Or do you want to, like, do more of this shit, whatever that is for you, right? Like, maybe you got kids, maybe you just want to sit out on your ass and watch Netflix. That's cool too, right? Whatever that version is for you. People ask me, will I lose money or do I have to let clients go to do this? You don't have to. I call this the slow transition. What you do is you start building your burger restaurant and really focusing on that in your burger system. And then what ends up happening is slowly over time, the clients who just aren't a match for that will fade out, but you don't have to like have this difficult conversation and like let everybody go all at once. You can transition, and there's a way to transition and have it be gentle and slow and do it in a way so that you can see, like, you can build your new agency as you're still kind of managing your old one without going totally fucking crazy. Another question people ask me, is this a lot of work? I'd say it is some work. Like, I can't tell you it's not work. Like, if you're looking to do no work, it's upfront work that pays for itself again and again later. I'd say I think it's actually easier, but it's the upfront work is harder. So like, it's kind of like remodeling a kitchen. You got to smash down parts of the kitchen, but after you're done, like, you got a new kitchen, it works way better. All of that. The key work, by the way, is I pulling the system out of the client you already have now. So more than likely, if you got like 10 clients, you at least are doing that system for one of them. And it's just cloning that system for other clients and then going and getting more people like that. So you can have this low maintenance, high value kind of client system. And then another question is, people's like, how will clients see me if I'm like turning it away and I say only do burgers? There's an awesome story in Built to Sell where Alex, the main character, says, like, they decide to specialize in logos. And he says, hey, basically, this is all they say is like, hey, we found we do like awesome work with logos. So we decided to specialize in that. We're going to refer you to someone good. So if a client comes to you and you've now focused on doing burgers and they say, hey, can you make me a pizza? You say, hey, we found we just do really awesome work making burgers. So we decided to specialize in that, but I'm going to refer you to a really awesome pizza restaurant because I want you to be taken care of. And they go, cool. Right. So you're not going to hurt any client's feelings. So those are a couple of the questions. You guys may have a whole bunch more. Obviously, like, I pre-record these because I got kids to deal with and have to work around them. 3 little babies, 2 toddlers and a baby, I should say. So let me show you the cool stuff. I think here is, if you're an agency owner and you spend your day like managing media buyers or ad accounts, and you were like me, where you'd be okay to never have to see this again. By the way, blessing in disguise that I've had so many accounts banned. We help you to run that kind of agency that has no ad delivery whatsoever, the Wolfpack way. That doesn't mean, by the way, that ads are not being delivered. It means you are not the one running the ads, right? So we're building business system, just like Ray Kroc doesn't have to run into McDonald's and make a burger, but burgers get made all day long, right? Like, we want to have that kind of system. We help you have to run an agency. And the Wolfpack way is kind of exciting, by the way. There is no meetings. I don't do client meetings. We don't do sales calls. We sell people through video. We don't do interviews. We don't have an ad manager, right? So I should say, if you're interested in those 4 things, where you can have like a real lifestyle agency, and the way we do that is with like intelligent systems and deliveries. By the way, the only thing I still do myself, I wrote this, is I still send all my client updates myself. I like to be forward facing, talking to people, and I still scheme up a lot of the marketing because that's fun for me. But other than that, like you can outsource everything if you got an airtight system. So if you're interested in the Wolfpack where we can actually help you do this, if that way sounds like kind of interesting to you and you got into this so you could actually have a life and not be tethered to a laptop, especially if you're not like, if your goal isn't to build a $35 million agency, like if you'd be happy, doing high 6 or 7 figures and just like chill on a beach somewhere, then this is going to be especially useful. We have a pay as you profit model. And what that means is you can try the Wolfpack for $1,000. Yes, like just $1,000. And it's a 90-day free trial. And so either in 90 days, you'll have added clients to your burger system, or we'll work with you if you need a little bit more time. I'm not saying it's never happened to get you the result, but you don't have to make payment to until it's actually from your profits. The total payments, by the way, are 15 payments of 1,000, but we've set it up so that payments 2 to 15 all come out of the new value added. In other words, like the extra clients you're getting. So it's just like a share of the profit. So it's only really $1,000 you need to get started today. I'll tell you, most of my clients will make their investment back in like 1 to 3 sales. Like if you got $1,000 a month thing and we send out a couple letters in the mail and you sign $1,000 a month client, like you paid for it. Basically, you've broken even and you have the skill you can use for life, like 2, 3 sales, like you got it covered. So it doesn't really take much to cover it. Let me just tell you, it's for you if you're running Facebook ads and having the problems I mentioned above. This is probably not for you if you're thinking about running Facebook ads but haven't done it for clients. This is for people who are kind of like more neck deep in it and you want to scale, and you're at the stage where like what you've been thinking about probably before this is, I need a media buyer. Hold on, let me just grab a drink here. You've got a little dry throat. So the Wolfpack, by the way, is almost full. I'm not like saying this just to bullshit you. We're like literally running out of spots. I do run an agency. I mentor people to do this, and I got 3 kids. That's enough full schedule for me. So like at some point, like doors closed, that's it. And we will have a waiting list very soon. Couple of bonuses, by the way, if you're interested in joining this right now, we have a direct mail letter that I'm pretty proud of. I started using this on my own, and I would send like 5 of these letters out in the mail, and I would get like 3 clients, and it just worked like gangbusters. I have since templatized that so that anybody in our mastermind can use this letter. If you join now, I'll be helping you like actually craft your own letter, get it out the door, which means you can spend like $5-10, go get a client. That's pretty fucking amazing in my world. I think so anyway. Where are we going here? Just clicking on random things. Also, second bonus we have is a chat framework. And this is for those of you guys who are like me, who just like don't want to do sales calls anymore. In fact, our closing process works better without sales calls because we make our offer doing the heavy lifting. I used to have to manage salespeople, and salespeople, like they have ups and downs. Like, like if you've ever hired a salesperson, have you, by the way, what happens? They have up days, they have down days. Like they're, like they're humans, right? Like there's just good and bad times. When we make a video, the video never takes a day off. And our whole process, by the way, for closing people is we send out a little hand raiser, which is 1 to 3 sentences that just says, hey, if you're interested, comment here. We send peeps a video. They answer a question or two if they have them. Sometimes there's no questions. And then we say, okay, can we send you the payment link to get started? That's our closing process, by the way. In a nutshell, works both with cold traffic, warm traffic, referrals, ads, you name it. We've tested it in a lot of places. Works over email, works on SMS, works over Facebook Messenger, it works over LinkedIn, and it works over Instagram direct messages. So those are just a few places we've used it, but bottom line, shit works. So if you guys are interested in that, we'll get you the chat framework so that you can close people in chat, do like way less moving pieces. It's much simpler. Makes the clients happier, by the way, because they don't feel like they were hard sold. It's the offer that does the seduction process and will help you craft your own. And then, of course, if you're interested in joining now, you get a one-on-one bonus call. This guy. And mostly what we do in those bonus calls is give you an offer facelift, make your shit easy to sell where you don't need videos or you don't need sales calls, and help you set up a delivery structure that's scalable and create assets in the process so that you can actually sell your intellectual property and get paid when you're not doing shit. Like when you get that trifecta in place where your offer is easy to sell, your shit's easy to deliver and keep clients happy, and you're creating long-term assets, like you just win. So those are the bonuses you get if you join in the next 3 days. So let me know if you're interested in that. By the way, there's 2 ways you can join. You can go to the old Frankie Finn profile and just shoot me a message and say, hey, Frankie, I'm interested. And we'll have a conversation. By the way, I will send you a video just like the process mentioned here, unless you already know whether or not you're ready to rock and roll. And also, you can always just send me an email if that's easier. Frankie at Beyond Agency Profits. That's FRANK at Beyond Agency Profits. But I hope you guys got a ton of stuff from this, because if you see that I want to fix it with a system instead of with great people, your life will get a whole bunch easier, and you can still bring in great people. There's nothing stopping you from bringing, but you're no longer looking for this unicorn who's going to make all your shit work. You're just looking for the good stuff. So I guess I can't find the recap in my notes, but it's somewhere in here. Let's find that. Here we go. The system over the people. And we're going to have that repeatable $100 bill outcome. We're going to do the 80-20 of result producing stuff. We're going to clone our decision making. And then we're going to go hands off. Let's go to the beach and let this machine run itself. So if that's for you, reach out to a brother. Either way, I hope you guys got some really awesome shit out of here. It's been a hoot doing this. I love showing you guys like cool different ways of doing shit, especially the stuff that goes way against the conventional wisdom of what everybody says you have to do. I built my first agency doing everything everybody said I had to do, sales calls and meetings and all those things. And I wanted to put a bullet in my head every day, maybe not literally, but it was stressful and miserable. And now it's like, I don't know, my inbox is pretty fucking empty. So hope you guys can have that experience as well. And much love to you guys, and may the force be with you.